Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to another episode of AskGufish. Let's just jump straight into your questions. Had no idea your last name was ENGL. You should now get a signature amp from ENGL. Yeah, so there's about a 0% chance of that ever happening. I mean, sure, why not? You wouldn't find me complaining. Speaking of ENGL though, I'm really excited to finally try one out. We've actually been talking for a while about getting the new ENGL Savage MK2 on the channel. Well, I guess relatively new. It came out about a year ago now. But yeah, we've been talking about getting it on for a video and then just to use in general. I mean, I'll be honest, when it comes to amps, I'm not terribly picky. I love the thick sound of the dual rec. The 6505 is obviously the standard for tight modern metal, but I've been using the same amps for the last couple years. Or 3 years now. And it's just exciting to switch things up. New gear is inspiring, it keeps things sounding fresh, sounding exciting. So yeah, that was gonna happen soon. Then COVID kicked the world in the balls, so we'll have to wait a little bit. Not gonna lie though, I've been spending a decent amount of quarantine time watching a lot of YouTube demos of that amp. It just sounds brutal as hell. So chunky. Like every video I've watched, the chugs are unreal. I can't wait to actually plug into that absolute monster of a head. Can you talk us through the Harley Benton Amaroks line? Absolutely, I would love to. This was one of the more interesting projects I've had the pleasure of working on this year. I was super excited putting the specs for all these together, and now they're finally available to order. They're some of the highest spec'd Harley Bentons to date, and also some of the best looking, in my opinion, even though I am obviously slightly biased in that regard. Now, when I unboxed the prototypes, I called them the Ragnaroks for some reason. That was incorrect. They're the Amaroks, named after a legendary giant wolf in Inuit mythology. No idea why I called them the Ragnaroks in that video, seeing as I was the one that had already suggested the Amarok name. I don't know, clearly I need more sleep. Anyways, the Amaroks consist of 3 variants. You've got a 6-string, a 7-string, and a 6-string baritone. What's great is that each one launched with the same 4 color options. So no matter which type of guitar you're into, or what color suits your taste, it's available for you. There's transparent blackburst and blue blackburst with flame maple veneers, then red blackburst and green burst with quilt maple veneers. All with satin finishes, matching reverse headstocks. It's just a super classy, modern look. The body shape was taken from the old Fanfret line. It's a fairly standard carved top super strat. For specs, we're looking at neck-through construction, ebony fingerboards with 14-inch radii, 5-piece maple mahogany necks with slim modern C profiles, stained mahogany wings to match the finish. That's like one of my favorite things. So if you get a green one, it's got dark green wings, blue has dark blue wings, etc. It just looks so nice. You get that natural binding on the sides. The 6 and 7 strings have 25.5-inch scale lengths, while the baritone sits at a lengthier 27 inches because it's a baritone. Then we've made sure these are just spec'd to the absolute brim. Glow-in-the-dark side dots, jumbo stainless steel frets, Grover locking tuners, spoke wheel truss rod adjustment, WSC HPS hardtail bridges, Graphtec nuts, and for the very first time on a Harley Benton guitar, EMG pickups. A pair of retroactive hot 70s, ceramic in the bridge, Alnico 5 in the neck. These are supposed to be EMG's answer to players demanding the sound and response of passive pickups, but with the noise and clarity benefits of actives. Then we've made sure there's even a dedicated battery compartment for the 9-volt on the back, so you can change that out when needed. Now, we debated for a while whether this was the direction we wanted to go with. Brand name pickups isn't something that's been done with Harley Benton before. It's always been Roswell pickups because they're decent, they keep the price tag down, so when you pick them up, you can use them or swap them out to taste. But when we considered the type of player these models are geared towards, and when we realized we could put these particular EMGs in here and still hit a certain price point for the whole guitar, it was like, okay, let's go for it. So the Amarok 6 is €499, the baritone is €550, and the 7 is €599. So yeah, clearly a little higher than your standard Harley Benton, but when you look at the spec sheet, it starts to make sense. Like spec-wise, these are just absolutely insane for guitars under $1,000 Plus, like the finishes, like the blue blackburst, that's hot. Now there are supposed to be 3 on their way right now. A 6 in blue, a 7 in green, and a baritone in red. I think unfortunately DHL has lost the shipment though. They kind of disappeared without a trace on the 3rd, which as of filming is like over 3 weeks ago, 3.5 weeks ago. And DHL is still trying to find them. So that's why I haven't made a dedicated in-depth video on these yet. Was kind of hoping to have something ready for launch, but you know, with everything going on, shipping isn't running as smoothly as it otherwise would be. You kind of just have to roll with the punches. I'm sure they'll show up, or they won't, and DHL will compensate for it. It's not a big deal. No poll or anything for these. There's been a stupid amount of requests for the Amaroks. I hear you, and I'll be making videos. It's really just dependent on when the heck they show up. Can anyone tell me what that black thing on the strings is at the headstock? And what it's for? String mute, pick holder, Jimmy clips. Before we get into the next question, I want to give a massive shout out to Jared Knapp and the rest of the amazing patrons for making this and all the other quarantine content possible. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know I generally don't upload this often ever, but I've just brought in a couple of editors, including Jordan, who edited this episode. That's freed up time to do other things, like mod a 7-string Hello Kitty guitar from AliExpress video of that coming up very soon. So if you want to directly support the channel as well, link to join the Patreon community is in the description. And now into the next question. Will you demo the new Harley Benton Jr. double cut fat with the stacked P90 and the open pore finish? Yeah, going back to the more affordable front with Harley Benton, there's new additions to the super popular Junior lineup. Like the original SC and DC Juniors sold like guitar hotcakes, so we definitely wanted to expand on that. There's new open pore satin finishes for the DC Junior, faded brown, faded cherry, and faded blue. Also sparkle finishes, blue for the DC, silver for the SC. What can I say? I'm a big fan of satin and sparkle finishes. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure the sparkle finishes are limited to just $250 each, so just a heads up, if you're interested in those, you might want to move on that. But then of course the brand new model Croc was asking about, the DC Junior Fat in satin faded cherry. So this has the same basic specs as the regular Harley Benton Juniors. Mahogany body, set mahogany neck, graphite nut, Korean WSC wraparound bridge, vintage style tuners, made in Indonesia, so it's from the best factory that Harley Benton currently trusts with the higher end models. But there are 3 big differences between this and the regular DC Junior. Firstly, the fingerboard is made of ebony, which is a substantial upgrade in feel for any guitar, in my opinion. Secondly, the pickup. The regular version has a Roswell P90, this one is stacked. So you get a beefier sound with less noise. Then using the push-pull tone, you can get your normal P90 sounds as well. And lastly, the neck profile is a big ol' fat 59. It's a substantial baseball bat of a neck for that old school vintage vibe. That's where this version gets the name from. The thick P90 and the thick neck. So I only helped put the spec sheet together. I actually haven't tried it myself yet, but Andy, the guitar geek, he loves it a lot, and these have actually been out for a little bit now. As far as I know, they're actually already sold out, so probably no demo, at least for a while. But if and when they're back in stock, would you be interested in a dedicated video? Or should I maybe check out the regular DC Juniors in the new finishes? Or, I know that there's been a video of the SC Junior already, but not in silver sparkle. Yeah, let me know what you want to see. Pull in the top right. Thoughts on the new Jim Root Sig? Right, Jim Root's long-awaited new white signature Jazzmaster is finally out, and we went over it a little bit before. Not much has changed since then. It was pretty much the final prototype that was revealed. So just a quick little recap, Jim Root unveiled a new signature model second half of last year on his Instagram, which was a variation on his existing American Jazzmaster signature in satin black. This one's made in Fender's Mexico facility and comes in satin white instead. Now the American Jazzmaster to this day is still one of the best guitars I've ever had the pleasure of taking for a spin on the channel. And this shares a lot of the same specs. Mahogany Jazzmaster body, well, the outline at least. A regular Jazzmaster is more rounded on the outer edges. This is kind of like a flat top with sharper rounded edges. This is why I have Jordan put so many images in these videos. Sharper rounded edges? What the f am I talking about? It's been a long Monday. I was gonna say week, but it's only day 1. Anyways, mahogany body, bolt-on maple neck with the thin C profile, ebony fingerboard with 22 jumbo frets. One key difference though, the original Jazzmaster has a compound 10 to 16 inch fingerboard radius, much like what you find on Jackson's or Charvel's. This new one has a 12-inch radius. Now this isn't a downside. 12-inch radius is what you'd normally find on Gibson or Epiphone, or even the Made in Mexico Jim Root Telly. That was something special that made it really stand out. So for me at least, as a stickler for fingerboard radius, that's disappointing, but not deal-breaking. Another new feature, it now has perloid blocks. I've never found that inlays or no inlays really makes a difference for ease of playability as long as the side dots are clearly visible, but it does look cool. Speaking of clearly visible side dots, this has lumen lays, and this model is the first and only time that Fender has included lumen lays on any of their models so far, so that's a really nice feature. I'm glad they're showing up in so many new models because it's a feature that just really makes sense. I'm glad Fender is finally getting into the game. Hopefully this will be a springboard and we'll see more of that soon. But really the big talking point for this guitar It's not the new finish, it's not where it's being made, it's not the lumen lays, it's not even the pearloid blocks, it's the inclusion of the brand new EMG Daemonums set. These being Jim Root's new signature pickups, it only comes in his new signature guitar. Now, from what I understand, and this is only going off of what's on EMG's website and on Stay Metal Ray's videos on them, because as of filming there isn't a huge amount out about these brand new pickups yet. It's kind of like the EMG 8160 set, which Jim Root used for basically forever before these. It's like that set, but in EMG's retroactive form, meaning essentially EMG 8160 tonal character, but with more of a more balanced, less compressed, passive sound and response. So I mean, that sounds awesome. Like, I was a bit worried these pickups wouldn't be anything new, like a rebrand of an existing set. You know, like how Kirk Hammett's Bonebreaker set is just a repackaged 8160A, or that these would just be changed for the sake of change. But if they work as advertised, that would eliminate a lot of the common criticisms of the EMG 8160 set. And honestly, a set like this is exactly what EMG needs right now, with Fishman seemingly curb stomping the entire active market. Yeah, so the Jim Root Jazzmaster, one of the most highly anticipated metal-focused guitars of the year. All the specs look good. The one sticking point might be the price. Now, when it was announced that they would be made in Mexico, it was like, great. That means they'll probably align with the Telecaster at $11.99. The American Jazzmaster I thought was far and away the much better guitar. It comes in at $14.99. So that's some substantial cash saved. However, the new Jazzmaster has an MSRP of $13.99 US. So at least on paper, with such a small price difference, it almost seems like the American one is still the better deal. Yeah, no, $100 is $100. It's not a small amount of money, especially with everything that's going on right now. A dollar saved is a dollar earned and all that. The thing is, from what I've tried, yes, the made in Mexico Fenders are great, but the American Fenders are just a step above. Like, and again, these are just the ones that I've tried, but they are just incredible. They're effortless to play, they're super inspiring. Like, I last played that American JM Jazzmaster in 2017, and I still think about it. In my experience so far, for the money, the MIMs are great. I keep talking about how good the player telly is in a bunch of videos. That's one of my main go-tos right now. Like, if I'm stuck on a demo track and I'm not sure where to take it, that's one of the first ones I'll pick up to mess around with and find inspiration. But that is a $700 guitar. The new Jim Root is literally twice the price. And to be clear, I'm not saying it won't be worth it. I'm an advocate for the idea that as long as it feels and plays like a $1,500 guitar, it's worth $1,500 regardless of where it's made. I'm just saying that at only $100 less than the American version, and we're not talking budget level $100 to $200, we're talking $1,400 to $1,500. It has a hell of a lot to live up to. Of course, there's no way to know how it actually handles that expectation until I actually can try one out in person. If it's just like the one I had the pleasure of trying out before, but with bonus features like lumen lays and exclusive pickups, hell yeah, I'm all for it. So I'm definitely cautiously optimistic on this one. What about you? Obviously, with all the music stores shut down, there are going to be very few people who actually have the access to personally try one of these things out for now. But what are your initial impressions? I would love to know. As far as the demo goes, I was actually talking to Fender at NAMM about getting one of these in for possible launch content. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for obvious reasons, but just know that I'm not ignoring your many requests. As soon as I'm able to get my hands on one, I will make that video. And now it is time to hear from yet another adoring fan. It is the high praise of the week. Every capitalized guitar, capitalized sounds the capitalized same when your dumbass one word runs it through your capitalized shitty PC programs, comma, capitalized my god, this guy. Yeah, I know, right? The Mesa Boogie all-tube 100-watt dual rectifier. That's my favorite shitty PC program. And that'll do it for this episode of AskGufish. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and hit the like button. Leave your comments and your questions down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. It's the big red button down there and it actually really helps out. You can also hit notifications. They work sometimes. Realistically, you should join the Discord server if you actually want to know when I upload. Social media, merch, and Discord server links are in the description. As always, thanks so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I'll see you for the next video.